Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to mention that Eduonix, a company that I used to work for, is running a Kickstarter for the JavaScript Developer e-Degree, which is a mastery program with more than 12 courses, 30 projects, and 100 source code snippets. So if you're interested in supporting this course, go ahead and click on the link below. Hey, what's going on, guys? So I was looking for a weekend project. I usually like to do something visual, some HTML, CSS, build a theme or something like that, landing pages and so on. So I came across the iTunes site and I wanted to do something similar. So very simple, just kind of a one column, menu at the top, one column with some mockups, areas with background images and so on, footer with links. So what I came up with was this. So this is MyTunes. Instead of Apple iTunes, it's Orange MyTunes. And the color scheme is much different. As you can see, it's much darker. We have this background image. We have this Apple-esque menu at the top, which actually I found this on Codepen. It's a responsive menu, and I'll show you it in a second. But yeah, we have this background image of this girl on her phone using the fake MyTunes app. And then down here you can see this is kind of modeled after the iTunes, this area right here. It's not exact in terms of size and all that, but usually I like to just kind of get an idea and then just roll with it and kind of do my own thing. But I did create some mockups, and I actually used a site called smartmockups.com, which is just awesome for creating stuff like this. You can use, smartphones and tablets and multiple devices. And if you want them in like an image or isolated, it's really cool. I actually purchased a premium account because I liked it so much. So if you're interested in that, I do have an affiliate link in the description. But we have the mockup here. Down here we have another one. I actually put the project inside of an iPad here, an iPad mockup. Then we have this area with the background image. We have the gift cards area. I just found this on, freepsdtemplates.com. And I'll have all the resources in the description. And then we just have a footer with some links. We're using CSS grid for the footer, as well as this area here. We're using CSS variables. So we are using, some modern CSS stuff. But this is a project that beginners could follow along with. So even if you're fairly new to HTML, CSS, give it a shot. I am going to go a little fast because I do want to do this all in one video, and I don't want it to be too long. So this menu actually comes from this Codepen here, this basic responsive menu by Ash Nielsen. So I definitely wanted to, mention him or her for creating this. And basically, if we make this responsive, let's go ahead and just open up Chrome Tools, and if you click on the little tablet icon here, you'll see the responsive version, and the menu just gives us a little hamburger icon with a drop down. Okay, we also make this 50 viewport heights instead of taking up the whole screen. We do some other changes as well for the responsiveness. I got rid of the footer links, so it looks pretty good. It's nice and stacked. So that's what we'll be doing. Let me close this back up. Yeah, so it's a pretty simple project, but I think it looks pretty cool. And, if you want to do it, then follow along and let's get started. All right, so I have VS Code open here on the left, and then I have my browser here, so we'll just kind of switch back and forth. I'm going to keep the finished project open as well for reference. And I already created the files, so I created a folder called mytunes_landing, and then I created a dist folder inside that, and that's where we're going to put all of our files. Okay, so these are the files that would get deployed to a host, and if we have enough time, we'll deploy this to GitHub Pages. I will have a link in the description as well for the deployment. So the index.html file is empty. The CSS folder has a style.css file that's empty. The JS folder has a main.js that's empty. And then the image folder has the images that we need for the project. Okay, so you can get this from the code in the description. If I have the deployment, you can also just grab the images from there as well. All right, so let's get started with the HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and throw just a boilerplate in here with Emmet. So I'm going to say !tab, and let's change the title. We'll just say welcome to MyTunes. And let's add in a link for the style sheet, so css/style.css. And we're going to be using Font Awesome, so I want to grab that before I forget. So we're going to go to fontawesome.com, click on how to use, and just grab this link right here and paste that in. Okay, so that should be our head for now. I'm going to save. Now notice it changed a little bit when I saved. That's because I'm using the prettier extension, and those of you that watch my videos a lot probably know all the extensions I use. Prettier just makes it so that, like, let's say this title was way over here. If I save, it's going to fix it for me. I'm also using Live Server, so you can open the HTML file just normally, but I'm going to go ahead and say open with Live Server, and you can easily install that if you want. And this is auto refresh, so I won't have to keep reloading every time. Whenever I save a file, it will refresh. Okay, so let's go down here, and before I forget, let's add the JavaScript file. So right above the body tag, let's do a script with a source attribute pointing to the JS folder and then the main.js file. Now, this is going to have some jQuery in it, so we do need jQuery. So we're going to go to code.jQuery.com. And we want to grab either uncompressed or minified. Don't grab the slim version, because for the smooth scrolling, we're going to need the animate function, and that's not available in the slim version as far as I know. So I'm just going to grab the minified and copy that script, and then go ahead and put that right in here. Okay, and then we will start with our HTML. So I'm just going to put some comments kind of mapping out the different sections. So we're first going to have the showcase. Basically, it's the showcase and nav. Okay, so we'll do that first, and then under that we'll have the music area, our music section. Okay, then we're going to have the video section. And if any of you took my Bootstrap course or Materialize, or you've watched me build any kind of website or theme, you know that I like to map out things in sections. So this is the showcase, this is the music, this is the video section, this will be the entertainment section. Let's see, we also have the gift card section, and then the footer. Okay, so now we know what we're doing here inside of the markup. So the showcase is going to have this big image. It's also going to have a header with the navigation. So let's go ahead and start with that. We're going to have an ID of a div with an ID of showcase. And inside here we'll have an HTML5 header tag. And this is where I want the navigation to go. Now remember, the navigation, we're actually using this Codepen example here, and it's actually written in Haml, which is like a HTML template engine. But with Codepen, we can easily just do view compiled HTML, and that's what we're going to use. So we want to grab just the nav. Okay, there's an H1 in a paragraph. You don't want that, just the nav here. And I'll put this link in the description for you guys. So let's paste that in. Very, very simple, just a nav and a UL with a class of CF. Okay, and we might as well just put the correct links that we're going to use. I'm going to put one list item above here with a link to go to ID showcase. And this is just going to be like the branding, so I'm going to say My Tunes. Now, if any of you guys are brand new to HTML, if you use an href attribute and you point to a number sign and then whatever, some type of word, it's going to point to that as an ID. So if we have a div with an ID of showcase down below, if we click this link, it's going to bring us down there. Okay, by default, it's just going to kind of just flick us down there. But I wanted to do it nice and smooth, so we're going to use a little jQuery later to do that. All right, so this next link is going to be overview, just like the iTunes site. And whoops, what am I doing? I'm using Windows hotkeys. So let's see, we're going to do showcase here as well. And this one is going to be music. This will take us to the music section, so it'll go to the ID of music. This one will be video. And this one will be gift cards. So this will go to gift dash cards. All right, and then this right here, instead of just saying menu, I want it to say My Tunes. All right, so if we save this and we take a look at our project, it looks horrible because we need to add CSS. So let's go back to our Codepen here, and he or she, I'm not sure if Ash is a he or she, but they used Sass. We're not going to be using Sass, so I'm going to say view compiled CSS. Now we're not going to need all of this CSS, but what I'll do is copy it all and then just kind of weed out what we don't need. So let's grab that and go to our style sheet and paste it in. So we'll start up at the top. So for the body, I do want to use the PT Sans font. I don't want the narrow version though, so I'm going to get rid of that. And in order to use this, we need to get it from Google Fonts and import it. So we're going to go head over to Google Fonts. I don't know the URL. Is it fonts.google? Yeah. And then let's search over here for PT Sans, and we're going to hit the plus sign. Go down here, and you could choose to link it in your HTML or import. I'm going to just import it into our style sheet. So we'll grab that, put that up here, and now we can use the PT Sans font. Okay, so we can close up Google Fonts. So let's see, the background I want to be a dark color. So for the background, we're going to actually change this to the hexadecimal value of 252529, okay, which will give us a dark color. We don't want a background image for the body, so we're going to get rid of that. I do want to zero out the body, zero out the margin. We want to add a color of white since we're using a dark background. And then let's put a line height. We'll do a line height of 1.6. Okay, now we don't need this H1 in paragraph, so we can get rid of that. And then for the nav, this stuff is pretty much going to stay the same, except one thing I want to do is, by default, the navigation will stay at the top. I want it to be fixed so that when we scroll down, it stays. As you can see on the final project, see how it stays like that? So in order to do that, we have to add a position of, not relative, we want fixed. Okay, we want it to stay fixed at the top. Okay, and then the rest of this nav stuff can stay. There is a media query here, so this is for mobile screens. I'm actually going to change it to 580. So if you guys are not familiar with media queries, whatever you put in here as far as CSS will only take effect on screens that are 580 pixels wide and less. Okay, so basically smartphones. We don't care about this H1, we can get rid of that. And then the rest is just to make the navigation responsive, okay? So let's save that and see what it looks like. So we'll go to our project and it should look like this. All right, now, as it is, if I were to make this responsive, or I should say mobile size, and I click on this, it's not going to work because we're missing the JavaScript or the jQuery. So let's go back to that Codepen and grab what's in the JS here. So we'll copy that and we'll go and put that in the main.js file. And I'm just going to put a comment right above this function. So responsive nav and save. And let's see, we're going to go back to our project here and now click, and there we go. Now notice it says My Tunes up top and at the bottom. What I'm going to do is in the HTML, the first one up top here, this li, I'm going to give it a class of hide on small. Okay, and this is going to be a utility class that we create in our CSS that's going to make whatever we give this class disappear on mobile screens. Okay, so if I save it, it's still going to show now because we didn't add the styling yet, but we will in a little bit. All right, and I'm not going to go through all the jQuery of how the menu works because I want to get this done in a sufficient amount of time. A lot of times, if you don't know like how to do something such as build a menu like this, there's a lot of resources out there for you to to use and learn from. And Codepen is awesome just to find little components and stuff like that. All right, so in this particular project, we're using this. We usually build it from scratch, but I don't want this to take too long. All right, so we're just gonna say that the menu's all set. All right, so now let's move on to the rest of the showcase. So under the header, we want to put our text and stuff. So I'm going to actually wrap it in a div called section with a class of section main, and then I'm also going to add a container. Okay, so we're going to use a container just like a container in like Bootstrap or Materialize. It just moves things to the center, adds some padding and stuff like that. So inside this div, we'll have an h1. We'll say MyTunes, and we'll put a dot just like the iTunes website. And then let's put an h2. And you could either copy the final project or the iTunes site itself. So we're just going to grab this right here, put that in the h2, and then I'm going to grab this paragraph. And this is going to go inside of a paragraph tag with the class of lead. Okay, so as you can see, when I do custom CSS, I adopt a lot of the Bootstrap classes. But obviously, this won't do anything by default. But we're going to make it so that it makes the font size bigger. I'm just going to change this to MyTunes here and right here. Okay, so let's save that. And if we take a look, doesn't look too good because we need to add a bunch of CSS. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go over to our style sheet now. And let's see, I'm going to comment this pretty well. So let's say navigation, styling, and then we're going to do our showcase. So first of all, we'll grab the ID of showcase. And we want to zero out the margin and padding. And then as far as the background image, we're going to use that image of the chick on her phone. So I actually got that from Pixelscom, which is where I get most of my high quality free stock images. I think she was on the home page actually. For now, she might not be anymore. Yeah, right here. So this is the image I used. I think I grabbed this one here, the original. But you can get it from the files or from the site. However you want to get it is fine. But it's actually called showcase.jpg in my images folder. So let's say background URL, and we want to go outside of the CSS folder. So // into image, and we want showcase JPEG. Of course, we don't want it to repeat, so we need to add no repeat. And instead of adding a whole separate background size and background attachment, I'm just going to add it here that I want it to be centered, and then I also want it to cover, basically have the whole image cover whatever element at the whole showcase. Okay, so if I save this and we take a look, it's only going to cover whatever content we have. So the H1 paragraph and the H2. So we need to add a height, okay, and a width. So the width is just going to be 100%. Now the height is going to be 100 VH, and I'm going to save that, and now you'll see it takes up the whole page. Now a VH, for those of you that don't know, is a viewport height. And I always explain this the same way. This is actually how Travis from DevTips explained it, is that a viewport height, there's 100 of them, okay? And you can think of them as slices that go across like this. And there's always 100 no matter what size the browser. And we set it to take up all 100. If we wanted it to take up half the height, we could do 50 VH. And now it takes up 50 of the 100. Okay, and then you can also do VW for viewport width, which is basically slices the other way. Okay, and I actually have a video that talks about rem units, M units, VH, and VW units if you're interested in that. Okay, we're also going to add a position of relative, and see how we have this space up here. We want to get rid of that, so what we're going to do is say for any overflow on the y-axis, which is up and down, we want to set that to hidden and then save, and now you can see that that space is now filled up. Okay, so that's it for the actual showcase itself. Now let's do some of the elements inside. We want to move, actually, you know what, let's do the container. I'm going to go down here. Now I'm going to put a comment here and I'm going to say utility classes, because these are classes that we're basically going to use all around the page, all around the site. So container is one of those, and we want to set a max width. Okay, not a width, but a max width. So it's going to be fluid, but the max it can be is 100 and not 100, 1,180 pixels, 1180. And then I want to just text align everything to the center. Okay, let's also do margin 0 top and bottom, auto on the left and right so that it pushes everything to the middle, and just a little bit of padding on the left and right, so 0 top and bottom, 3 rem left and right. And a rem unit, real quick, I know a lot of you guys know this, but just for those of you that don't, 1 rem is going to be equal to whatever pixels the core HTML element font size is. Okay, so whatever this font size is, which by default is 16 pixels. Okay, so 1 rem by default is 16. So this would be 3 times 16 pixels, and that's what the padding is we're putting here. Okay, and you could change the HTML's font size, and let's say we put it to 10, then it would be 3 times 10. But by default, it's 3 times 16. All right, so that's our container. Let's go ahead and save, and now you can see everything's pushed to the middle, and it's everything is centered. We have the padding on the left and right. So now let's actually move this down. Since we want this to take up the whole screen, we want this to be kind of in the middle. So I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to say showcase, and I'm actually going to grab onto the container that's in the showcase, and we're going to add a margin top of 25 viewport heights and save, and that's going to push that down. Okay, so right to about here is about 25 viewport heights, so a quarter of the way down. And let's see, I also want to, actually that's all I want to do there, but let's now work on the font sizes for some of this stuff, like the H1. So showcase H1, let's give it a font size of 4 rems, which after it's computed will be 64 pixels because it's going to be 16 times 4. Let's see, we want margin bottom to be 0 just to take that spacing away. So let's save that, and now you can see this is much bigger. So for the H2, let's do that next. So showcase H2, let's do font size 2 rem. And yeah, that's it. Font size 2 rem. And let's see, we'll save that. This is actually the paragraph with the class of lead, and lead is basically a utility class, so I'll put that down here. Lead, and let's give that a font size of 1.3 rem and save. Okay, so that looks good. Now there is some stuff we want to do as far as responsiveness, because if we look at it on a mobile device, for one thing, I don't want it to take up the whole screen. I want it to take up half. I want to also get rid of this paragraph on mobile screens because it's just too much. It's too much text. We also want to move this up, and we want to make this font size a little smaller. Now, this paragraph, I'm actually going to add, let's see, I'm actually going to add to it the class of hide on small. Okay, and I'm going to save it. Nothing happens because I haven't defined it in the CSS. So what I want to do is go down to the media query and just add it in here. So class of hide on small, and we're just going to set this to display none. Okay, and this will only be in effect on small screens. Okay, so you can see it just disappeared. Now you could keep it like this if you wanted to. I mean, that's actually not bad, but I'm going to actually let's see, we're going to say, make sure you're in the media query. Let's do showcase, and let's do height 50 VH and save. Okay. Now this is not good because this is going outside of this. So let's not push it down so far. So remember, that's the showcase container where we added the margin top. So here we're just going to say on small screens we want the margin top to be just let's do 10 VH. Okay, and then we want to decrease the font size of some of this. So showcase H1. We'll set the font size to 3 rem instead of 4, and then the H2. Let's set the font size to 1.5 rem instead of 2, and save. All right, so maybe we can push it down a little more. So let's do 15 VH instead of 10. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to go out of mobile mode here, and that should be it for the showcase. Now we can move on to the music section. So for the music, we're actually going to use a section tag for the rest of these. So let's say section. I'm going to give it an ID of music and also a class of section. Okay, and we want a container inside here so that we push everything to the middle. We're going to have a section head, an H2 with the class of section head for the heading. And this is going to have, if we look at the final project, it's going to have this music icon and the word music. So we're using Font Awesome, so we want to use an I tag with a class of FAS and then a class of FA-music, which will give us that little music note icon. And then next to it, we'll just put the word music. Okay, so let's save that and take a look. So if we scroll down, you can see it down at the bottom here. And we're going to make that bigger. But let's continue. Under the H2 will be an H3. And we're just going to grab, let's see, this right here. 45 million songs, 0 ads. And then let's grab the paragraph. And that, again, is going to be in a paragraph with the class of lead. Okay, and then let me just make sure. Where it says iTunes, I'm just going to change to MyTunes. I'll probably miss some, but it's fine. I'm going to change Apple to orange. All right. So if we save that, take a look. Where are we? So it should look like that for now. And then underneath that, we're going to have, it's going to be a link, but it's going to be formatted as a button. So it's going to be the free trial button. So let's put an A tag. I'm going to give this a class of BTN and a class of BTN primary. And as you can see, I do adopt the Bootstrap class names. So this is going to just go nowhere. And then the text, we're going to say start your trial now. Okay, so that's our link formatted as a button. We'll add the classes in a minute. And then we're going to have a paragraph with the class of text-light. And let's see, I'm just going to grab from here. So Orange Music is available in MyTunes and for iOS, Android devices. And then under that, we want this mockup. Okay, now the mockup is already in the images folder. So if we just put an image tag here that goes to img/mockup1, that should show up. So let's take a look. Now, just to show you how I created this, first thing I did is I went to Pixels.com and I searched for app, I believe. And it's, where is it? Did I pass it? Where the heck is it? Oh, right here. So this image here, okay, so what I did is I downloaded this. I think I grabbed this one, the 1920. And then, actually I can just grab it. Just to show you how to do these mock-ups, because these are pretty helpful. They look really cool. So, and then we go to smartmockups.com. I'm logged in. I'm actually a premium member. So let's see, the one I chose was, actually it was multiple devices. So over here we can search for multiple devices, and it's isolated. So if I click isolated, and it was this here. So if I click on that, this is really cool. So the smartphone, we can go ahead and choose an image, and I'm going to choose the image I just downloaded. And you can crop it, so you can place it however you want. So I'll just do that and say crop and continue. Puts it in the phone. For the tablet, we can go ahead and choose an image again. I'm going to choose the same one, and you can crop it however you want, like that. And there we go. So we have our mock-up. Now, in order for this customized to work, you have to be a premium member. I think it's like $7 a month, and then you can choose no background, so that you don't have a white background, because ours is going on a dark background on the site. And then you can go ahead and click custom crop, and you can just crop it like that, and then just go ahead and download it. Okay, so that's exactly what I did to create this mock-up. Okay, I'm not going to use that one, but I just wanted you guys to know how I created this. So that is it for this section as far as the HTML goes. Now let's add the styling. Now every image I want to be constrained to its container. Right now this is actually like busting out of the container. So I'm going to put just a general style for images up at the top here. So for all images, I'm going to set a width of 100% of its container, and I'll save, and now that's constrained in the container. Okay, let's see, what else do we want to do here? Let's make this bigger, the heading here, the section head. And I also want all sections to have some padding on the top and bottom. Let me see, did I add a class? Yeah, see how we add a class of section? So let's do class section, and we'll say padding. And we want to do, let's see, 2 rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Save, and now we have a little bit of spacing here. So let's do the section dash head, and I'm going to do a font size of 2.5 rem, and let's do margin 0. Save, and now you can see that that's bigger. For the H3, so I'm just gonna do this for all H3s inside of a section, and we'll change the font size to 2 rem. All right, and this paragraph had the class of lead. So now we want to style this is going to be styled as a button. So for the colors, I'm actually going to use CSS variables. Okay, not Sass, but just core CSS variables. For those of you that don't know, we can use variables in CSS now. So we're going to go up here. Let's say CSS variables, and they're just colors. We're just going to put our colors here so that you can easily change them if you want. Now we need to define a scope, so we're going to say :root, okay, because we want the root to be the scope so that we can use these variables everywhere. And the syntax is a little weird. I have a whole video on CSS variables. If you search for it on YouTube, it'll be the first video. So they have to have a dash dash at the beginning, and then we'll name it. We'll say primary color, and it's going to be a hexadecimal of B90415, which is a red. And then I also want to have, let's just copy this down. Let's have 5 of these things. The next one is going to be the primary color hover, which is just going to be slightly lighter, I believe. So we're going to change this color to D3071B. This one here is going to be secondary color, and then we'll also have secondary color hover. And then this last one is going to be light color. All right, light color, I'm just going to make a light gray, so it's going to be F4 3 times. And then the secondary color is going to be like a purplish bluish color, or like a navy blue. So this is going to be 103.063. And then the hover version is going to be 143F85. Okay, so those are all the variables that we need. Okay, these are our colors. So now let's style the, we're going to do the button, but the link, I don't want any underlines on links. I don't know why they still have the default as underlined. Maybe in like 1998, but who the hell wants underline links? So let's put an A tag in here and let's do text decoration none, and I'm just going to make the default color of links just like a light gray and save that. Okay, so now why is that so big? What did I mess up here? That's awfully big. A class. Start your trial now. This isn't in the H3, right? No. Let me just see something here. I don't know why this text is huge. Get rid of that. And let's pull this up. So, oh, section font size 2 rem. That's why. That's not right. Why did I do that? Section font size 2 rem. Oh, this is supposed to be for the H3. Like that. There we go. All right. I knew something was wrong there. All right. So let's continue on here. So the buttons. Button. So we'll do the BTN first, which is like the core button class. No matter what color it is, it's going to have this class. So let me just find this real quick. It's going to have a padding all the way around of 1 rem. So basically 16 pixels in our case. Color, I'm going to do white. And let's display as an inline block. Okay, so that way it's on its own. It's on its own line, but it's not going to like extend all the way across the container. So that's that. Let's save. So it's just going to look like that for now, and we need to add a background color. So this is going to be this has the primary class. So let's go ahead and do btn primary, and we just want to add a background color. And we're going to use our variable now. With CSS variables, it's really weird, the syntax. You actually have to do var like this and then put your variable. So dash dash primary color. Save, and there's our button. Now I want to just kind of move this down a little bit, and usually what I like to do when I don't use a framework or anything, I like to create my own utility classes, as you can see down here, and I create a margin bottom and margin top. So I do an MB, again adopting Bootstrap's classes. Let's do margin bottom, and we'll say margin bottom 1 rem, and let's also do a MT, and I'll do this even if I don't plan on using it, because you never know when you might need it. So margin top 1 rem. Okay, so we'll save that, and then I'm going to go to the button in the HTML, and I'm just going to add the class of MB. That way it pushes this down. All right, now this line here has a class of text light, but I want to finish up my my button classes. So in addition to button primary, we're going to do button primary hover, hover. And we want to use the variable primary color hover. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with secondary button. So I'm going to copy both of these, the standard and the hover, and just change this to secondary. So I'm actually going to highlight in VS Code. You can highlight just primary, and then Control D. That'll select the next primary. Again, I want that one, and again, I want that one, and then I'll just change it to secondary. Okay, so a little shortcut. So that takes care of the button secondary and the secondary hover. So now let's do some text classes. So we'll say text, colors, and these are basically utility classes, so I'm going to actually bring this down. So the buttons, I'm just going to cut that and bring it down here. We'll go like right here. All right, and if you get confused, you can always look at the code in the description. So for text colors, let's do text dash primary, should be a class. And let's do color. Okay, make sure you do color, not background. And then you want to use your variable, your primary variable. And then let's grab that and let's do our secondary, and let's also do our light. So text, I'll do a Control D, text secondary, and then Control D, text light is going to be light color. All right, so we'll save that, and now you can't really tell the difference, but this is now a light gray instead of white. Okay, so I think, yeah, this section is now done, so we can move on to the video. Okay, so we're going to do the markup, and if we look at the final project here, the video section has a light background, just has some text and another mockup and a secondary button. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this stuff here. Now it's going to have a section with an ID of video and a class of section, and I'm also going to add a class of light-bg, and then we'll do a container, and in the container let's do an h3, and I'll just grab this, and let's grab this as well, and this is going to be a paragraph with the class of lead. Paste that in. Let's see, we have our secondary button next, so let's do an A tag with the class of btn and btn secondary. Okay, and let's see, this is going to say just read more. So read more, and then underneath that we'll have our second mockup, so an image tag with the source attribute will go to image mockup 2. All right, let's save it. Let's take a look at our project. You can close that up. Scroll down. Okay, so we want this background to be light. Now remember, we added the class of light. Actually, let's do bg light. bg dash light, and then we'll add that down here. So it's going to be background, and we're going to use our variable of light color. Save. There we go. We also need the text to be dark, so I'm going to do a color of 333, which is really dark gray, almost black, and that's it. That's that section. So let's see, the next section is going to be entertainment, which is this right here with the background image. So let's add that next. So section ID, entertainment, class, section. Okay, so H3, and we'll just grab this real quick. Yeah, and then this is just sample text. So we'll grab that. And that goes into a paragraph with the class of lead. And that's actually it for the markup. So we save it and we take a look, it's just going to look like this. Now, we want to do a couple things here. We want some extra padding so that we can show the image, and we want to add the background image. So let's go, let's see, let's go up above our utility classes, and we'll go right under the showcase. No, not the showcase. Where's the section? Up here. So I'll say Let's do entertainment. Actually, I'll just do section with the ID of entertainment, and we want a background with a URL, and it's going to be dot dot slash image slash, and then it's the section dash bg dot jpeg. We want to do no repeat, and what else do we want to do? We want to position it to the bottom, and we want it to cover. So save. Let's take a look. Okay, so there it is. Now I want it to be like bigger. I'm going to add some extra padding on the top and bottom. So let's say padding, and let's do 10 rem on the top and bottom, 0 left and right. Save, and there we go. All right, so that was pretty easy. Next thing we want to do is what? The gift cards, right? So let's add that. And you can see how it's basically the same process for every section. Everything is just styled a bit differently. So we're actually going to use a little bit of the grid system to just align these side by side. Let's give this an ID of gift dash cards. Give it a class of section. We also want a light background, so we'll do the BG light tab, and container. Okay, so we need a class to be we need an element that's going to be our grid container. So I'm just going to call this the gift cards. Even though we have an ID called gift cards, it's fine. If you want to call it something else, you can. So basically we want 2 divs in here, and each one of these is going to be a grid item. The first one is going to have the gift card image, so we're just going to put an image tag. Source is going to go to image slash cards.png, and then this second div, the second grid item, is going to have an h2 that'll just say gift cards, and then a paragraph. I'm not going to use lead here, just a paragraph. And you can copy the text, or I'm just going to say lorem 40 tab, which will just give me a bunch of sample text. Let's see. Let's also put this in here. So we'll do another paragraph. And it'll say I already have an orange MyTunes music gift card. Then you want to redeem. I'm going to put an HR horizontal rule right here, and then under that we'll put an A tag with the class of text secondary. Okay, to make it that blue color. And inside the A tag we're going to have a chevron icon, as you can see. So let's do I, and we want a class of FAS for font awesome, and then a class of FA dash chevron dash right. Okay, and then after that I tag, after the closing I tag, we're going to say redeem. And let's save that, take a look. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like for now, till we add our CSS. So let's head on over to style CSS, and let's say class gift cards. So we want this to display as a grid. Okay, I'm going to add a grid gap, which is the space between each of the grid items, and I'm going to do 20 pixels. And then we need to decide the columns, and we just want 2 columns. We want one with the card image and then one with the text. So we simply need to do grid template columns. And we want to use fractionals, okay? So basically one fractional and then another. So the image will go in one, and then the text will go in one. So if we save this and take a look, there we go. So this is one fractional, one fractional. Now you can also do this if you don't want to put in this twice. You could say repeat, and you could say I want to repeat 2 times one fractional. Save, and that will do the same thing. All right, so this here looks a little weird. I don't want this to be aligned center, So we're also going to add in a text align and text and align it to the left. Okay, because remember it's in a container and all containers are centered by default. So we just want to define this to be aligned to the left. All right, so that should be good for that section. So what do we have next? The footer, I think, right? Yeah. So we're almost done here. So let's do the footer. So I'm gonna go back to the HTML and let's go right here and say footer. And inside here we're gonna do a container. And inside here we're gonna have a div with the class of footer-calls. Okay, so for footer columns, because we have 4 of them, and each one is going to be a UL. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste each one in because it's just too much to type. So here's the first one. So it's a UL. The first LI is going to be like the title, shop and learn, and then we just have a bunch of links. Okay, so that's the first one. Let me grab the next one. If you guys can hear that banging, I'm sorry about that. I have no idea what that is. It's 10:30 at night and someone is being really loud. So that's that one. So that's just this orange store. It's supposed to be like the Apple store. And then I'll paste in this one, which says education and business. And the last one is about orange. So I'll save this. Prettier will fix it up for us. And if we take a look at it, it looks absolutely horrible. So we do have to add some styling. But before we do that, we also want an area at the bottom for this copyright right here. So let's go, let's see, UL div. We want to go just right above the ending footer tag, put a class of footer-bottom. And we also want to text-center. Which is a class. Actually, no, we don't have that class, do we? So let's do, and you know what, we'll add it. So let's do text center. I don't want to use a container. I don't want the padding and stuff. So we'll just have to add that as a utility class, text center. So we'll just add it like right here. Text center and just text align center. All right, so now inside this div, we just want to do a copyright. Let's do HTML entity here. So ampersand copy semicolon 2018, or if you're watching this in 2019, you can put that, whatever you want to put, whatever your year is. Orange my tunes. Save that. And you can see that down here. So now let's style this. So I'm going to go right below the showcase, above the utility classes, and say footer. So we don't need an actual styling on the footer. However, we want the footer columns. So I'm going to say footer and then the class of footer-calls. So this is going to be displayed as a grid. And I'm going to also add a grid gap of 20 pixels. And let's do our grid template columns. And we want 4, because there's 4 ULs. Each one is going to be a template column. So let's do a repeat. And we'll say repeat 4 times 1 fractional. Okay, and then let's do some padding. We'll do 2 rem. Let's see what else we want. I don't want them centered. I want to do a text align to the left. And then I want the font size to be a little smaller. So let's say font size, we'll just do 14 pixels. All right, so let's save that, see what that looks like. Okay, obviously, well, not obviously, but I don't like bullet points, so I want to remove those. So I'm going to say footer-calls UL, list style none. Okay, we'll get rid of those. Let's see, the title here I want to be more prominent, and I also want to put like a border underneath it, so we can actually target that. So let's do footer calls, and we can target that by saying, let's do UL-LI, and then we want we want to use a pseudo selector of first child. Okay, so this should grab the first LI. And then we want to change the font size to 1.2 rem. Let's do a padding bottom of 0.5 rem. Let's do a border bottom of, let's see, the background is 333. I just want it to be very vague. Vague? Is that right? I don't know. 444 solid and 1 pixel, and then let's also do a margin bottom of 1 rem, and save, and there we go. So that looks pretty good, I think. So now the last thing we want to do here is the copyright, or the footer bottom, I think we called it, in the class of footer bottom. And you don't have to put footer here if you don't want to. It's really just preference. You don't have to put it. Let's see, we want to do background. Let's do 333, so it'll be a little lighter, right? Wait a minute, is that 333? Let me see something. Okay, so this is actually... No, this is the body background, that's right. So 333 is a little lighter. All right, so we want that, and then we just want to add some padding. So padding, let's do 1 rem. And there it is. All right, cool. Now we just have a little bit of work to do for the grid stuff on mobile screens, because if we go down, this does not look right. We want this to stack. And then I'm just going to completely get rid of these links when the screen is small. Actually, you know what? Let's do that instead. All right, so let's see. I want this to stack on screens that are 780 and below, not 580. So I'm going to create another media query. So let's see, I'm going to copy this line right here, go down to the bottom, and let's change this to 780. And all we have to do is take the grid container, which is the class of gift cards, and just simply change the grid template columns to 1 fractional, okay, so that it stacks. And then for the footer columns, let's save this first of all and see what that's like. Okay, so that looks good. That's fine. Footer columns, all we really need to do is add our hide on small for that. Actually, no, because I want that to... I want this to hide on 780 and up. So I guess yeah, we'll just add this in here. So footer calls display none, save, and now it doesn't display. All right, I think that's it. So yeah, it should be good. Now, I mean, there could be something missing. Like, actually, one thing I wanted to do is if we're in landscape mode and we go all the way up, you can see how this is, the paragraph is showing because the width is bigger than 580. However, the height is pretty short. All right. So what I'm going to do is add a media query for the height and get rid of that paragraph. So instead of max width, we're going to say max height, and I'm going to do a max height of 580. Okay, and then in here, let's say showcase paragraph dot lead, and let's do display none, and save, and there we go. Okay, and there might be some little things here and there that you guys got to do if you look at it on a real device, depending on what device you have. You know, you might have to make some changes here and there. This is not like a production project that I took weeks to create. I just created this in a couple hours. So, you know, anything like this, just let me know in the comments if something's off. Let everyone else know. All right, so I think that's going to be it. Actually, I'm sorry, we didn't do the smooth scrolling. Right now, if we click on the links, they bring us to the correct place, but see how they just snap down? We want the nice scroll. And there's a lot of ways you can do it. There's jQuery plugins, there's other libraries. I always just use a little snippet of jQuery to do this. If you took my Bootstrap course, it's the same thing. I'm just going to paste it in real quick. This is running way longer than I wanted it to. So in our main.js, I'll paste it in. And it's just a few lines of code. So you want to grab your menu. In our case, it has a class of CF, and then the link. Okay, so anytime an A tag is clicked, it will run this function, which is going to look at the hash, which is basically, you know, if it's hash music or hash video or gift card, whatever it's going to move to, and then it's going to call the animate method. Okay, so that's what's going to make this happen, and we're going to pass in a property of scroll top and pass in the hash variable dot offset dot top. The second parameter here is going to be the speed, so it's 800 milliseconds, and then we just want to set the window location hash back to whatever the variable is, whatever the hash is. Okay, so just put this somewhere, and anytime you want to use smooth scrolling, you can go ahead and use this. So I'm going to save, and let's try it out, video, and now we get our nice little smooth scrolling. All right, so now the very last thing we want to do is put our favicon in. So we have this little logo, as you can see on the final version. So there's an image inside the images folder called logo.png. It should look like this, a little red-orange. And what I usually do is use a service called Dynamic Drive. Makes everything very easy. It's actually tools.dynamicdrive.com/favicon, and you can choose any JPEG or PNG or GIF or even a BMP. So I'm going to choose the logo PNG and just click create icon, and it's going to generate it for us, and then we want to download it. So it's going to download as favicon.ico, and let's show that in Finder, and I'm going to copy that to our images, I'm sorry, not the images folder, your root. Okay, you want to put this right in the root. So we'll go ahead and paste that in here. And then you just want to grab this line of code, this link right here, and put that in your index.html file in the head. So I'm going to put it right above our style sheet link and save it. Now if we go back to our site and reload, you see how it's not showing up. That's just because you need to clear your cache. So on Windows you can do, I think, Shift F5. On a Mac you can do Command Shift R to reload, and there it is. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was quite long. I apologize for that, but I wanted to get everything in. So thanks for watching. If you did like this, please leave it a like, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.